10.
Live from the bridge at the Launchpad Studios in Huntington, New York, it's Sports Talk New York with your hosts, Mark Rosenman and AJ Carter. Sports Talk New York is sponsored in part by Cardboard Memories, Clearview, Long Island, the law firm of Decolator, Cohen, and DePrisco, the Phoenix Tube Company, PIMS Incorporated, fueling brand performance for 30 years, Prince Associates for all your insurance needs, and Soho Table Hockey. Here are your hosts, Mark and AJ.
And good evening, 365 Sportscast Nation. Mark Roseman, AJ Carter with you this Sunday evening. Proud to be here to start off a great 4 hours of programming tonight. Great guests coming up in about a half hour. The great Jim McMahon of the Super Bowl, Chicago Bears, and the Super Bowl Shuffle. Maybe we'll get that on the air at some point tonight. AJ Carter, taking a moment away from his rehearsal for The Masked Dancer. How you doing, AJ?
It's a lot of fun. Let me catch my breath here. I've been tapping away like crazy and picking my costume, but it looks like if I'm on tomorrow night, I'm probably going as a snowman. So we got some bad weather that's come in here. I've seen forecasts that go anywhere from 6 to 18 inches from where we are. So just hunker down. There are a lot of sports to talk about tonight, a lot of things going on. So I'm looking forward to tonight.
Absolutely. And as always, we kick it off with the Cardboard Memories Major League Baseball report with John Coppinger. Cardboard Memories is one of Long Island's most reputable memorabilia retail stores for over 29 years. The owner of Cardboard Memories, Scott Stamell, is known for his knowledge and savvy of authentic autographs and has been featured on HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. Cardboard Memories possesses the honesty and integrity one would want and need from a memorabilia source. Scott personally works with each customer to ensure they understand the authenticity of each item. Every piece of autographed memorabilia is purchased directly from the source. Cardboard Memories also specializes in custom framing, appraisals, and authentication, and they're always buying collections large and small. Give them a call at, where is the number? I don't have the number, actually. Check them out on the web at cardboardmemories.com or visit them at 6401 Jericho Turnpike, Comac, New York, and tell them Mark and AJ sent you. So let's get right to it, John. A very interesting week in Metland. Nothing ever goes as we would love it to go. We finally have an owner. He's got lots of money. He engages with the fans, and all of a sudden we have this whole GameStop, Robin Hood, these guys. Hedge fund guys, and to be truthful, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I don't get it. I don't understand the whole thing that's going on, but how, is this going to affect the Mets? Number one, it's taken our owner who is really engaging with the fans off of Twitter for a while. Tell us what the effect will be on the New York Mets.
I don't think it's going to be as much as we think or fear it's going to be, although there were reports that Steve Cohen lost a lot of money. There were reports that he lost. He's been worth. His net worth was reported as $16 billion, and apparently there was a report that this cost him $1 billion. I don't know how true that is, and nobody really knows how true that is. He always said that his company, .72, and the Mets were separate. That he's going to make his money in the .72 company and then put it towards the Mets. I don't think that's going to change. It'll be a blip in the radar, sure. If this had happened to the Wilpons, it would have been the death blow for the next 5-10 years because they couldn't recover from that. Steve Cohen has a better chance of recovering from that, even though it is a big hit, but I don't think it's going to have that much an effect on the Mets. Remember, he was a little, they haven't really been spending like drunken sailors anyway before this happened. So I don't think much is going to change.
First of all, Mark, your assignment for the next tomorrow while you're snowed in is to go watch the movie The Big Short. And after that, we can talk about what's been going on in the stock market. But John, something breaking today that may affect the Mets and their planning going forward that looks interesting, which is Major League Baseball has a proposal for a 154-game season that would start a month late and include the universal DH. First of all, and the players would get their full salaries under that 154-game schedule. Is this something can happen, or do you think there's a lot of roadblocks the Players Association will be throwing in the way? And of course, the HFX and Nets roster going forward.
Yeah, I think there is a lot that's going to get in the way. I had seen that the union rejected that. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I saw where the union was, or at least was leaning towards rejecting it. It would certainly help the Mets. I don't understand why stuff like this has to be bargained and can't just be decided in plenty of time for teams to make their plans for the offseason. Although I think the DH would have given them a better chance to get George Springer. So I think even if there is a DH, I don't think it's going to matter all that much, because the bat that they add in center field isn't going to be of the same quality as Springer. But yeah, it will certainly affect the Mets. It would mean it would give them a little more flexibility going forward. But it needs to happen soon.
The other question is in terms of signing. Do they go after Bauer? Do you think they can take the money and go for a center fielder like Jackie Bradley Jr. and Jake Odorizzi?
I think they go to get two birds in one stone. Trevor Bauer is gonna take way too much of the payroll going forward, and it'll hamstring them from going after other needs. They still need bullpen help. They got Aaron Luke, but they still might need another arm. Like they were hoping for Brad Hand. So I think they're going to try and get an arm like that, and then a center fielder. They could also go for a starter. I think Trevor Bauer, for somebody that hasn't had an established enough track record, I don't think somebody like that should be earning $36 million a year. Or maybe, listen, if he gets it, he gets it. But
Jacob deGrom, throwing that structure out of whack.
Yeah,
right.
But you can't go there, because deGrom signed at a different time. Every single time a contract comes up, it's a different time. So I don't think deGrom is going to look at that and say, listen, you're going to need the money for Conforto. But I'm telling you, I think they've always had their sights on Bauer. I think Bauer was target number one. I think Bauer will be a Met by the end of next week, especially, the Mets right now are public relations conscious. They want to get away from the whole Porter deal. I know that Bauer might even bring that back in focus because of the issues he's had with some female, people on Twitter. But I would say when we get back here in 2 weeks, obviously no show because of the Super Bowl next week, we might be talking about Trevor Bauer as a Met, and we look forward to that. John Coppinger here each and every week here on Sports Talk New York. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to continue, and we're going to talk about Tony DeAngelo and the New York Rangers situation right after this.
Is pleased to introduce their website, policeofficersrighttosue.com, as an educational and informative site designed to instruct members of the law enforcement community of their civil rights in line-of-duty accidents. Many law enforcement members are not aware of their rights to sue and fail to bring lawsuits within a specific time frame, thereby forfeiting their ability to seek rightful compensation against those parties that cause officers to be injured. PoliceofficersRightToSue.com provides successful past results of line-of-duty lawsuits. These examples range from officers being provided with inadequate equipment, RMP accidents, slip and falls, and station house mishaps. If any law enforcement member has a question regarding a potential lawsuit, they can contact DCD at policeofficersrighttosue.com or at 1-800-901-1LAW. That's policeofficersrighttosue.com or 1-800-901-1LAW.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York. Mark Roseman, AJ Carter with you this Sunday evening. Joined right now by Russ Cohn for the Soho Hockey Table Report. What's table hockey, you say? Some of us might have grown up with rod hockey or bubble hockey or even air hockey tables. Soho Table Hockey has embraced the nostalgia of those old tabletop games and designed a whole new board for the future. Handcrafted with designer wood, state-of-the-art playing surface, unbendable rods, energy-absorbing walls. This is a table hockey game that players age 8 through 80 can enjoy. Even better, the exceptional quality and design allows the game to stand up to the intensity of tournaments, which is why Soho Table Hockey is the number one choice of championship players throughout North America. Visit SohoTableHockey.com to learn more and start your order for the custom game. Go ahead, drop the puck. You'll love Soho Table Hockey so much you won't be able to stop playing. One guy who might have some time now to be playing that is Tony DeAngelo, formerly of the New York Rangers. Not sure right now where Tony is going to be headed. It looks like there's some issues the way the Rangers have put him on waivers that they might void out his actual contract.
I think they might try and trade him. But again, because there are a couple of guys out there, defensemen, that have had issues that said they're available, such as Victor Mete for the Habs and Vince Dunn for the Blues. But again, I don't know if those teams would want D'Angelo or want to give him another chance. That's really what's up in the air right now, and I guess that's what we're going to find out. I don't know if we'll ever know exactly what happened, but clearly we've seen this coming. We've seen him be a disruptive guy on Twitter. And it's not just, I know people are thinking it's just political. It's really not. It's the guy's entire, just the way he handles himself. I felt like when he started that podcast, it was bad for him. Right. Just because I could tell, I listened to an episode or two, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I just felt like he's hanging out with his buddies on a podcast instead of like focusing on hockey. I felt like that was a bad idea. He came into this season struggling right from the get-go. What do you have, 1 point? And on the ice for a lot of goals. So I felt like all of these other things have helped to derail his performance with the Rangers, and whatever, recently happened put him over the edge.
Well, I think everything that you laid out, it gives the Rangers a possibility to get out from this contract, because Larry Brooks laid it out really, really well in an article. I urge everyone to go out and check it out. There's difference between unconditional waivers and regular waivers. The unconditional waivers does allow a team to try and get out and void out a contract. The regular waivers that the Rangers did put him on does not allow that, although for a small little codicil in the contract, which is conduct. So if you have the issue where they already said, and they said they handled it internally. So I'm sure they have all the paperwork that when Tony had the meltdown as far as social media, went on that whole social media tirade. And now the story goes that the main part that's been leaked, there's a lot of other rumors, and we asked David Quinn about that. I knew you weren't going to get anything out of it, but the story that's now come out is there was the miscommunication, which is what I asked David Quinn about in yesterday's postgame, because it was clear that D'Angelo either did not hear Georgiev and went to play a puck when Georgiev was about to clear the puck and basically bumped into him, which led to the winning goal. The body language from Tony was not good. Evidently, they got into it in the tunnel on the way in. Other stories have it later on that Kreider got involved. I'm not 100% sure of that, because Kreider was one of the guys we were given media availability. Had that happened, I don't think the Rangers would have risked, trotting Kreider out there, who might have said something. Makes sense. And there's other issues now, which
it had to be more than just being on the ice for 4 goals. Right. The goalie giving up 4 goals, the defenseman being there. There's something else at play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that I think they might have enough evidence to actually be able to void out his contract. And if they can, that is huge for the New York Rangers to be able to get out of that. If they cannot get out of this, no one's taking him right now at that price. There is no team.
No, not at that price. They'll have to eat significant salary. But again, somebody would probably take him.
Listen, the Pens are decimated on defense. I can't see why they wouldn't jump at it, but not at that price.
I mean, it all depends. Right. The Rangers are still going to look for something in return. I don't think the Pens have it, but I think the other 2 teams do. And I think that would be the first place to look, because honestly, the Rangers do need a defenseman in return if you think about it.
Quickly, go ahead, AJ.
Okay, but before you go, I want to ask one thing COVID related. There was an odd story came out of the AHL that there was a game between the Henderson minor league team from Las Vegas minor league team and the Sharks minor league, the Barracudas, that got canceled in mid-game between the second and third periods. And one of the inferences was some of it had to do with the fact that players are shuttling back and forth because of COVID between the NHL and the AHL, and some players came who are on loan. What do you know about this? What does it say for both minor league hockey and especially the NHL in terms of COVID?
I don't know a ton about that particular game, but as far as players shuttling back and forth, if you remember, like Major League Baseball, maybe the testing came in at that time. Sometimes the testing is not immediate. It's definitely not. And a lot of times it could take up to 24 hours. And I kind of wonder if that was at play there. But when you do have players going up and down, we are going to see these kinds of things. And, all of a sudden you'll see a player and he just won't be on the roster this week. And, all of a sudden they'll be out for a week. And then you'll look up and when they put out the COVID list, they'll be on there.
Yeah, it's a good thing it just didn't happen in the World Series. Like
right.
It did
I
this
mean,
year.
honestly,
Exactly.
but it was happening all year. Yeah.
Right. It's not a Justin Turner moment. All right, Ross, we'll speak to you in 2 weeks.
Okay,
You know what? We
Thanks.
were remiss in not asking John Coppinger a question, but have to do that with our next two guys. Well, obviously, we will do it with the NFL guy. We'll get to some of these predictions. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk NBA with Chaim Tauber. So keep it tuned right here to Sports Talk New York.
If you're a company looking to increase your visibility, to make sure your promotional materials get packaged in the most attractive way and distributed most efficiently, then you need to call in PIMS. Whether you're launching a new product and need to assemble customized influencer packages, or looking for a more efficient way to manage your inventory and collateral, PIMS involvement helps maximize the impact of your brand's performance. For more than 30 years, PIMS has been helping companies get their message out to the right people, offering personalized distribution services and full-scale inventory management solutions. PIMS works its magic on 3 continents, backed by 350,000 square feet of warehouse space. If you're looking for experience, PIMS is it. They've shipped more than 13 million packages and elevated more than 8,000 brands. Want to know more? Check them out on the web, PIMSinc.com. That's PIMSINC.com, and read testimonials from their satisfied clients. That's PIMS, the first name in marketing support.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York. I hope you're listening to us either on the iPhone, the Android, or the Alexa app, or you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube Live. The comment section is now working again on the Facebook Live, so we do love that. We see Mr. Shelley out there as well as Mr. Tuller. So shout out to those guys. They're admiring the Hartford Whalers jersey. It's now time for the NBA report. We bring in Chaim Tauber. How you doing, Chaim?
Not bad, you guys. How you been?
Doing good. As best as can be expected in this crazy time, but we're doing good. And this is great when we can spend this hour talking, sports, and then listening to the remaining 3 hours on the network of some great programming. So we are happy about that. So a familiar name returning to the tri-state area to play some basketball. Shumpert back as a net. What do you think about that signing?
I think it's a smart signing. I think it's a shrewd one. It's one that kind of, it's not one that comes as a huge surprise. We spoke, I think it was last week, in which we said, hey, listen, what the Big Three signing really means, they don't have the depth. Short Dinwiddie went down. Yeah, they paid most of their other pieces, LeVert, Allen, all those guys. But you're going to start seeing those veteran free agents start coming out of the woodworks, the ones who really want to play with Harden and KD, the ones who are chasing the ring. The guys who are the almost annual Kendrick Perkins, Jonas Haslam type of guys who come out, David West, I should say, the guys who come out of the woodworks every so often when they want to team up with LeBron or somebody and go get that ring. And the Nets have become that location. They've become that team. And for a team that's been sorely lacking depth, Iman Shumpert, assuming he's in shape, assuming he's ready to go, he's going to fill out the bench nicely. He's got a long frame for a guard. He can give you some defensive plays. He's not going to take over, but it's not a team that needs you to. He's a nice body to add. He's a nice bit of athleticism. Him and Norman Pell, who gives you a much-needed body in the paint. It's a roster that's starting to fill out, much like we expected, and I don't think they're done. I think you're going to start seeing some other veterans start coming out of the woodworks, eager to suit up for Brooklyn.
But people probably don't remember on Shumpert, he plays defense, and that's the one thing. We talked about this last week, that the Nets really need. They need some people who come in to be presences to allow for their big three to keep on scoring. So I think this is a sign of looking defense. They understand the weakness on the roster. I think it's a good sign of looking to fill it out in an intelligent way.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Knicks did not play much defense today. They played against a Clippers team that seemed to be able to hit this whenever they wanted to. Do you expect Tom Thibodeau to go ballistic at practice tomorrow, or is it just one of those games with the Clippers are so much better?
Both. I think Tom Thibodeau is absolutely going to lay into them for the defensive effort and for the performance. But that also doesn't mean that we're not realistic, both as Knicks fans, in terms of the Knicks press. The Knicks are nowhere near as talented as Los Angeles Clippers. The two teams that most people are talking about in terms of the serious title contenders for this season are the Clippers and the Lakers. There's some other teams sneaking up, Utah, some that are legitimate contenders to challenge, but the Clippers are right up there in terms of the best teams in the NBA. And the Knicks are nowhere near that. They're on the rebuild. They're in the early stages. So take it for what it's worth. And this is a team that if teams can knock down the perimeter shot, the Knicks are going to have a really hard time against them. We've seen that over the course of the season, and today was no exception. The Clippers far outclassed them on the floor. But I don't expect Tom Thibodeau to take that lying down. This is about a culture change, and it's about shining that microscope, shining that light on the defensive end, and that starts with games like this.
Actually, the exciting part of the game today, because it follows a couple of games around, is Emmanuel Quickly's play. That he goes into the paint, he gets that little floater up, and he's somebody you think they're going to move, off into the starting lineup and not playing with the second team.
It's a move that most people are anticipating and are waiting for. There are a couple of ones where it's really just a matter of, the right opportunity, the right time, let the veterans have their say, whether it's to move them out in terms of a trade or just in terms of steadying the ship while this team finds its footing. Emmanuel Quickly has unquestionably been the story and the surprise for the New York Knicks. And as far as rookies go, he's very much in the conversation as top 3 or 4 rookies in this draft class. He seems to be like a complete steal. And that floater you talked about is something that you're going to start seeing on the playground. When the playgrounds open back up in full capacity, when all of this is put behind us, you can start seeing those taken over in Rucker Park and in the streets of New York. That floater is going to become a staple. He has endeared himself very quickly to the fans, and he seems like an absolute steal. It seems to be a matter of when, but Tom Thibodeau has a reputation and a history of not playing the rookies, not pushing them forwards, and relying heavily on veterans. So it's going to be interesting to watch that push-pull with a rebuilding team.
All right, we're up against a break, but I have one quick question for you, Chaim. Every year I pick a team that I kind of like, and I take a look at the Utah Jazz as the anti-Big Three type team. I kind of love what they're doing. What have you seen about the Jazz so far?
The Jazz have hit on every free agent. Mike Conley's having a career resurgence. Maybe the best year of his career. Jordan Clarkson is having a career year. They have about 8 starters in the rotation. They're shooting. They are the number 2 3-point shooting team in the NBA as far as 3-point attempts for field goals attempted, and they're the number 2 in terms of makes. They're shooting the lights out. Even without Donovan Mitchell, they've been blowing people off the court. They are the anti-Big Three for sure, and they're the ones who give hope. If you're not going to go ahead and get the free agent, if you're going to build the right way, they're a blueprint for a team like the Knicks in terms of, hey, here's how you do it, here's how you build it, and here's how you live by the 3-pointer in defense.
All right, before we let you go, Super Bowl prediction. Who's winning?
Oh, God, I hate to bet against Tom Brady if Eli Manning's not there, but I'm taking KC. They're just a better team to me.
All right. Chaim Tauber heard here each and every week. It's time for, we got to cue the theme song, no? All right, AJ, what do you got for us as far as a weird story of the week?
Well, the weird story, going back in literature and in truth, wrestling has been the final stopping place for rogues, for people with seedy reputations to even play on their seedy reputations. And this week's addition to that roster of people, going back from Requiem of a Heavyweight and on, is none other than the disgraced NBA referee Tim Donaghy. Tim Donaghy has turned up as a crooked referee on Major League Wrestling. He used underhanded tactics to find a victory, if you believe it's all staged and all. But in terms of somebody, and I can't believe some of the quotes that he said on this. He's saying, I'm not shying away from the fact that I made some mistakes and I made some poor choices. He says, unfortunately, he has to live with it. But then he goes on, he lets himself be part of this, and he says, he quote, the whole situation is close to probably 10 years behind me now. I'm fortunate that I have a good family and good friends that have supported me. Things couldn't be better. So here's somebody who, basically gave information to gamblers, did prison time before it, and is trying to resurrect his reputation, as it were, and his income by going to the last resort of all rogues, professional wrestling.
Can Lenny Dykstra be far behind? All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk some football right after this message.
The Phoenix Tube Company Incorporated is among the country's leading manufacturers of structural ornamental stainless steel tubing, rectangles, squares, and processed flat bars. The company takes pride in its everyday commitment to quality and customer service. The philosophy of the company has been and continues to be to support the growth of the stainless tube market through distribution and service centers throughout the country. Ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing is used for a wide variety of aesthetic and mechanical products where superior finish and corrosion resistance are required. Some products manufactured include tubing for mirror bracket arms, boat rails and ladders, washroom grab bars, swimming pool rail products, medical equipment, automotive step bars and trimming, as well as structural framing for food processing equipment. For a quote or for more information on how the Phoenix Tube Company can meet your ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing needs, visit them on the web at phoenixtube.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-526-2124.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York on the 365 Sportscast Network. It's time now for the Capco NFL Report with Jerry Retcher. Even though it's winter, spring will be right here, hopefully soon, especially after the snowstorm, before you know it. Now it's time to get your windows and doors ready to let the fresh air in and the bugs out with a Clearview retractable screen. The Clearview retractable screen system comes with standard lifetime warranty and the patented speed reducer so it will not snap back. You get the luxury of a screen door in a sleek, low-profile design without the hassle of a bulky storm door or sliding screen door. Call 631-440-1100 for a free estimate. That's 631-440-1100 or visit them on the web at clearviewlongisland.com. So, Jay, not much going on in football. I don't know what we're going to talk about today. So, first of all, have you come down from the high of your beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning and having the first opportunity to be the home, a team in their home field for a Super Bowl?
It's funny you say that because on Friday I was still pinching myself, going, "This can't be real, can it?" And man, we did our show from the NFL Super Bowl experience, and it's crazy, man. And I'll be at Radio Row starting at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll see how it goes, man. But yeah, I'm excited, and I'll be in the building next Sunday, a week from today, ready for the Super Bowl. I'm excited for it.
It's amazing considering if you go way back when he first signed, and you were going to the I think it was the high school field where he was working out.
Yep.
And you said you had this feeling, but what's really gone under the radar is the fact that you have a tight end who basically took a year off, was a studio analyst, and now he's going to another Super Bowl. I mean, Gronk has been an untold story in the season as well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, too. And I mean, he made the joke early on in the season, like, "Oh, I'm a blocking tight end." And that's really what you've seen the last couple of weeks, guys. You haven't seen much of the Gronk as the big receiver because there's so many other weapons out there. When you're looking at the, Antonio Brown, I know he was out last week, but Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and then the tight end that is more of a receiving threat has been Cameron Brate. But Rob Gronkowski, the job that he's done helping that offensive line, there's a big reason why, they were able to kind of keep that pass rush at bay, talking about Green Bay and New Orleans and Washington, three teams that can really get after the passer. And a big reason why is that young offensive line coming together, but also Rob Gronkowski kicking out of the end and doing his part as well.
Well, to me, the big story is you follow Tampa, as you did, closely over the course of the whole season, was the evolving relationship between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. That there were some rumblings early on that it wasn't a great fit. But whoever managed to adjust, or they came to meet together by the end of the season, they were clicking on all cylinders together. And, what Super Bowl winners, playoff winners in any sport, it's not necessarily the best team over the course of the whole season. It's who puts it all together at the end and through the playoffs. And boy, they certainly have done that.
That's a great point. I mean, A-Rod, I remember years ago, I think it was in 2009, he said it's not always the best team that wins, it's the hottest team. And you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the way that they're playing down the stretch, it's hard to argue that they're not the hottest team. But that's a great point that you bring up. And it's not just those two guys. People forget that, you got to add Byron Leftwich in there, the offensive coordinator. What about Clyde Christensen, the quarterback coach, has been around the league, and Tom Moore, who was one of Peyton Manning's right-hand men for years in Indianapolis. And all those guys, I wondered, too, is there too many cooks in the kitchen here? But, man, down the stretch, I think after the bye week, and they had their bye week a little bit later on in the year, after the bye week, they all sat down, they got together, and they said, hey, this, and this doesn't work. This, and this does work, and you're seeing the fruits of that labor now.
All right, the moment of truth. We're going to go around the room. We're first going to start with Mike Capice. Mike, your prediction for the Super Bowl, team and score.
Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl again. Scored 27-17.
AJ?
I'm not going to go against Brady. I think it's going to be a shootout. Tampa Bay, 42-35.
All right. I have never bet against Mahomes since he's come into the league. I love everything about this kid. I think it's going to be the passing of the torch. He's going to be the next great one. I'm going KC, much to Jay's, he's not going to like it. KC 41 and Tampa Bay 34.
We're putting you on waivers like D'Angelo, Rosamond. That's what we're doing.
All right, go ahead, Jay. What do you got?
I got 35-30 Buccaneers, Tom Brady MVP again, and he's going to Disney World on Monday.
Wow. So I'm the only one with KC right here. All right, Jay. We will find out in 2 weeks. Enjoy the game no matter what. I hope you have a great time. Jay Retcher here each and every week with the Capco NFL Report. We are going to take a quick break, right? And then on the other side, we're going to have a Super Bowl champ himself in Jim McMahon. So keep it tuned right here.
Do you own a business? When is the last time you actually had a visit from or even spoke with your insurance representative? Did your current insurance agency sell to another firm or maybe merge, leaving you without the attention you deserve? Prince Associates is a provider of commercial insurance nationwide and represents some of the finest insurance carriers in the industry. Prince Associates has been representing commercial clients since 1965, and we continue to grow and offer our personal services in a competitive and ever-changing market. If you want back the insurance relationship you deserve, reach out to us, 516-822-6550. That's area code 516-822-6550. And ask for Leith or Craig, or find us on the web at www.princeins.com.
Hi, this is Kenny Albert, and when I'm not calling the game for the Rangers or the Knicks, I'm listening to Sports Talk New York with Mark Rosenman and A.J. Carter.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York. Mark Roseman, AJ Carter with you this Sunday evening. Hope you're enjoying it. So, we just made our Super Bowl predictions, and believe it or not, I am the only person here on this show that actually picked Kansas City. And at the end of this interview, I'm going to see what another person who I respect his football knowledge a lot more than sorry, Mike, you and AJ, but we'll see. Joining us now is a man who spent 15 years in the NFL after his college Hall of Fame career at Brigham Young University, where he was a two-time All-American. He was selected by the Bears in the first round of the 1982 NFL Draft as a fifth overall pick, and just 3 years later, he achieved his greatest professional success with the 1985 Bears team that won the franchise's first Super Bowl title in Super Bowl 20. He also received Pro Bowl honors during that season. 11 years later, he would conclude his NFL career, adding his second Super Bowl ring in a backup role on the Packers in Super Bowl 31. He's been an advocate for CTE awareness in his post-playing career and will be the subject of a much-anticipated documentary, Mad Mac, The Memory of Jim McMahon, due out spring of this year. It is a thrill to welcome the man who can't dance but can throw the pill, the punky QB known as McMahon. Welcome, Jimmy. How you doing?
Hey,
great speaking to you for sure. Over the years, we've spoken to so many athletes here whose families moved around a lot when they were young and found out that sports was such an important part of them filling in their new places that they moved to. Did the same hold true for you as a young kid?
Well, yeah, I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, and then I moved to San Jose, California when I was almost 3 years old. And so from 3 until I was 16, I was there. And then I moved my junior year in high school from San Jose up to Roy, Utah. And that was that was quite a difference, not only culturally, but sports-wise.
So that particular move, I have to imagine, is just, I can't even imagine that, because you become the starting quarterback for Andrews Hills High School as a sophomore in San Jose. And then you moved to Roy, Utah, and Roy was not, easy one, because it was an easy one because you became the team MVP in 3 sports at Roy High School. You twice led Roy to the state championship, named All-State Senior after passing for 1,555 yards, 16 touchdowns. I know your mother, Roberta, told you at an early age to believe that you were the best that you are, that you were the best. And if you didn't believe it, nobody else would. How much did those words help you when you had to reestablish yourself in a new town such as you did in Roy?
Well, that was actually my dad's words. My mom's words were, if you don't do your schoolwork, you're not going to play anyway. So, but that was really a tough move for me. like you said, I was starting as a sophomore in San Jose. And there we threw the ball a lot out there. We had passing leagues in the summer, and that's all we did was throw the football. So moving up to Roy, these guys were running the wishbone, the three backs behind the quarterback. And, I'm faking and pitching. And I'm like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing half the time. But it took a little bit of probably a couple of weeks of practice before I got the starting role up in Utah, but it was just a tough adjustment.
It's interesting too, because the McMahon persona was already taking shape back then, and you chose to go to BYU, which at that time and still is a no-nonsense school. So why BYU, and what were some of your other options? You also played baseball at BYU. When did football become your primary focus? And do you think that if you'd stayed with baseball, you might have been a Major League Baseball player?
I'd like to believe I would have been. Baseball was always my first love. I wanted to play baseball, and that's the reason I ended up at BYU. There was only, of all the colleges I took trips, I went back to Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Boise, all the Utah schools, and everybody said I couldn't play both sports except for Brigham Young and Nevada, Las Vegas. And Vegas is where I wanted to go. I mean, that was my last recruiting trip. I had a great time, and plus I got offered a house, a car, money, easy job at a casino. I mean, hell, who knows what could have happened there?
You know what? I don't think it would have been good, to be honest. But let's not even go there, because that choice to go to BYU would actually pave the way to the Miracle Bowl, December 19th, 1980. Up to that point, BYU had never won a bowl game in school history, having lost the 74 Fiesta Bowl, the 76 Tangerine Bowl, as well as their first two Holiday Bowls in 78, 79. And for the first 56 minutes of the 1980 Holiday Bowl, it seemed that the Cougars were destined to another defeat. Your defense couldn't handle SMU's Pony Express, Craig James and Eric Dickerson. James ran for 225. Dickerson added another 110. 4 minutes left in the game. Mustangs score to take a commanding 45-25 lead. A lot of the fans started leaving. You start screaming at them that the game wasn't over. So take us through what you remember about that comeback, which may in fact be the greatest in bowl game history.
Well, up to that point, I was very disappointed in my performance. I didn't play well the whole first half. We couldn't stop them on defense. We couldn't get the ball in the end zone offensively. So the second half, things started, working the way they were all year long. I started making better reads, throwing the ball better. So we're going back and forth. And like you say, 4 minutes to go, they're up 20. And so, we're making a drive, and it's fourth down. I think it was 4th and 2. And the coach is sending the punting team. And I'm like, hell no, we're not punting. I said, get in the huddle. Made the offense get in the huddle. We had to burn the timeout because I wouldn't come off the field. When I did come over there to talk to the coaches, I said, what the hell's going on? I said, we kick now, we got no shot. I said, I'm not going down by punting. And Lavelle and the coordinator looked at each other. They didn't know really what to do. And I said, the hell with this. I said, we're not punting. So I went back in and I called just a simple at the line of scrimmage play. I had a balanced set offensively, and for some reason they weren't covering our All-American tight end. So I just made a simple call, a slant out to Clay. We got the first down. We go down and score. We kick an onside kick. We get the ball. We go down and score again. And then we try another onside kick. We don't get it, but we finally stopped them on defense. And we blocked the punt with 18 seconds left in the game. We get the ball back close to midfield. And so we had time for 3 plays, no timeouts. And so I think I remember the first play, I just threw it out of the end zone. And the second play, I threw a horrible pass, thank God. Had I thrown a good pass, it was probably either going to be picked or Clay would have, I was throwing it to Clay Brown. And he probably would have got tackled and time would have expired. And so now there's 3 seconds left in the game, and we practice the play that we use every day, or not every day, but every week we practice this play, and we just call it a save the game pass. And basically, everybody just get down to the end zone, and the first guy to get there, if you can't catch it, tip it, and somebody else catch the ball. And the way it happened, I threw it up, and Clay Brown was surrounded by 3 or 4 SMU guys, and they all go up, and Clay was the guy that didn't jump the highest, and the ball never touched those guys. It came straight down to Clay. So it was, some divine intervention there that night. And then obviously our kicker came in, kicked the extra point to win it. So that was pretty fun comeback. It was nice to be on the winning side of a bowl team for BYU.
An amazing comeback, one of the best of all time, and you can see that on YouTube. It's definitely worth watching. You're selected 5th overall by the Chicago Bears in the first round of the 82 NFL draft, but you really thought you were headed to Baltimore. In fact, you even had dinner with the legendary Johnny Unitas prior to the draft. What was that like, and was it a shock that you weren't taken by the Colts?
Yes, that was a shock because all indications were that's where I was going. Like you said, I had met with Johnny at his restaurant. We talked about the city and how much fun it was going to be there and this and that. And so, I really thought I was going to end up in Baltimore. But then my agent at the time also had, I think his name was Curtis Dickey, the running back that they had. And they were having trouble signing him. And so my agent told those guys, don't bother drafting me because they'll never sign me. And so, but he didn't relay that to me until after the draft. He had I guess I had told him early on, I said, I really don't want to be playing in Baltimore. And so, he remembered that, but he didn't tell me before the draft that that's what happened. And so when Baltimore drafted Art Schlichter right ahead of Chicago, I'm like, wow, well, I'm glad he's going there, but now where the hell am I going to go? And then Chicago was next in line, and they took me. So that's how I ended up in Chi-Town.
Which is amazing because you have an immediate impact on that franchise. You win the starting job as a rookie, named NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year that season. 84, you lead the Bears to the NFC Championship game where you're beaten by the 49ers. You're the quarterback of one of the best teams of the 80s. And even though those Bears teams were mostly recognized for their dominant defense, you ran an extremely highly efficient offense that averaged 28.5 points per game. Do you think that your status as a quarterback is underrated? 28.5 points a game is pretty impressive. I know that defense was smothering, but do you think that's one of the reasons that you aren't mentioned as one of the top quarterbacks of all time?
Well, I mean, statistic-wise, I don't have any stats. You got to have statistics to be talked about,
Well, wait a minute. When you say you don't have any stats, I mean, I looked at this, and your winning percentage as a starter is higher than probably about 20 or 25 guys that are in the Hall of Fame. Your completion ratio is higher than Namath. It's higher than a number of players. When you say you don't have the statistics, I mean, there's an argument there. You're there.
Well, I didn't play hardly any games. Hell, I only played 100-something games in my career, 110, 15 games, something like that. So, I missed a lot of ball games, but, playing in that offense in Chicago, it's not one to get a lot of stats on, but like you said, the winning percentage was what I was always worried about anyway. I didn't care what my stats were, as long as we won the ball game. I came from the most prolific offense I'd ever played in college. I got to throw it all over the field, but going to Chicago, I got to hand it off a lot, which wasn't a bad thing, handing it off to number 34, Walter Payton.
Yeah, sweetness could run, that's for sure. And,
but I told Coach Dick that we argued about it a lot. I said, why don't we throw it to him? He's a hell of a receiver. We don't have to run him into a brick wall all the time. And I didn't get that done very often.
Well, you did kind of mention about the completion ratio, and I hate to bring this up to you, but in that Super Bowl season, Walter Payton did have a higher completion ratio than you. He was 3 for 5 with a touchdown as well. Pretty amazing. But, it's so amazing that even though football is such a team sport, when it comes to the Super Bowl, it's always the quarterbacks that the spotlight is on the greatest. Take us through what it's like being a starting quarterback, the week before the Super Bowl. What are some of the things that went through your mind that might be going through the mind, of Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady right now?
Well, hopefully they won't be getting death threats all week. That's what I had to deal with that down in New Orleans. Some idiot reporter went on television and said that I had called all the women of New Orleans sluts and that the men were stupid. And where he got that information, I have no idea, because I never even talked to the guy, never did an interview with him. But for 4 days, I was getting death threats. We had the hotel was getting picketed by the women, and we practiced at the old Saints facility, which was right by an apartment complex. And so everybody, nobody wanted to stand by me at practice. I was wearing a different jersey. Everybody thought I was going to get shot. And so that's really the only thing I remember about that week. Don't remember much of the game. I just wanted to get the hell off the field when that gun went off. And, I didn't stick around on the field to do all those festivities. I ran right to the locker room, got dressed, and got the hell out of town.
Wow, that's a little scary. And you take a look at what you did in that game, makes it even more impressive for sure. As and you say you don't remember it, but as the clock's starting to wind down, was there a moment where the magnitude of the fact that you're going to be the Super Bowl champ? When did that moment hit, and what was that initial feeling that everything you've strived for came true at that moment?
Well, that moment happened about halftime. We knew the game was pretty much over at halftime, but it was just a culmination. It was my 4th year in the league, and like you said, we lost the NFC Championship the year before. We knew we had a good young football team, and it was just great because we put in 4 years of hard work, and it was great to end up with a win. And then the next 4 years, or actually next 3 years, we had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. We went 14-2 the following year. It wasn't like we disappeared off the planet. And then the next 2 years, and we went through a strike in '87, but still ended up, I think we were 11-5 that year. And then I think 12-4 in '88, we lost the NFC Championship game in Chicago. So in that 5-year stretch, we went to 3 NFC Championship games and only won 1 Super Bowl. So I was pretty disappointing about that.
Yeah, in fact, the year you went to the Super Bowl, you did not lose a game as a starter, 11-0, and then all those playoff games. The only one game was you were not in that game the year that they lost that one game. You played for a lot of big-name, big personality head coaches in your career. Mike Ditka, Dan Henning, Buddy Ryan, Rich Kotite, Danny Green, Mike Holmgren, as well as a preseason stint with Bill Belichick for the Browns, even though you won't find your regular season stats anywhere for that time with the Browns. Which coach do you feel got the most out of your talent, and why? And which is the one coach that felt you just didn't get you?
Well, I think the best coach that I played for was Mike Holmgren in Green Bay. I thought he worked us when we needed to work, but when it was time to have a little fun, we got to do that. I spent 7 years with Coach Ditka. I think his best, what he did best for Chicago is when he first got there. His first year was mine as well, and he got rid of 6-7 year veterans that were just kind of hanging around collecting checks, and he got young guys in there who wanted to work, because we definitely worked. I mean, we probably worked harder than any team in the league. All our drills were live. We didn't have any buddy drills at all, especially with Buddy Ryan and Mike Ditka didn't like each other, so every practice was like a game. And I think that took its toll on us after a while. You beat the hell out of each other for three days a week in practice. I mean, Sundays were easy. And that's how it was. I think that we just got tired of doing that after 4 or 5 years of beating the hell out of each other. And then after practice, he used to run us to death. So we didn't get out conditioned, I don't think.
That's for sure. So, a component of the radio show is also we stream live. So someone out in Chicago, Rich Weiss, wanted me to ask you this. If you remember Northbrook, Illinois, he used to live there 21 years ago when he lived there. And rumor had it you had one of the nicest racquetball courts in Illinois, and you were like a top racquetball player. Is that true?
Well, actually, yes. I lived in a townhouse my first 5 years, or 6 years actually, when I was in Chicago, and then found some property, built a house, and the only thing I really wanted in the house was the racquetball court. I told my wife, I said, do whatever you want with the rest of the house, but basement's going to be pretty much a fun center. I had a workout room, a racquetball court, had a steam and sauna in there, pool table, big screen down in the basement. So that was kind of the boys' room downstairs. But it was, I played a lot of racquetball. that's basically all I did to stay in shape because I hate it. I can't just go out and run. And but I could play racquetball, 4, 5, 6 hours a day, and not really. I wouldn't have to run as much playing 6 hours if I would have to go out and run a couple miles. So I enjoy playing that.
Listen, leave it to our listeners. That's one thing that I did not know about you, but now we know that. So, I want to get back to about where you're rated in the game. And you said you didn't play enough games, but if you look back at your NFL career and you put it in the context of all NFL starting quarterbacks over the history of the game, you realize that you rank 63rd in all-time wins with 67 as a starter, and you have a better winning percentage than Stabler, Unitas, Elway, Favre, Greasy, Aaron Rodgers. When you put that in context, does that mean something to you? I mean, in the top 100 of wins all time is pretty impressive.
Well, like I said, winning was the only stat that I really cared about. So, yes, I didn't realize I was that high up in the statistics, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
So your post-playing career, you've been an advocate for CTE awareness since your playing days ended. There's so much going on that front. This past week, there was an amazing article on Dan Carcillo, the former NHL player, who found that hallucinogenic mushrooms have given him relief. What are some of the things that you're involved with? And I understand you're partnering with a few former NFL players at this point as well.
Right. Kyle Turley, Ricky Williams, and even Britton. We're having a company called Revenant, and it's a lot of cannabis products. And I haven't seen them all yet. We're just kind of getting this thing started. So I'm looking forward to for the partnership and for what it's going to do for not only athletes but for everybody else. I mean, this plant has been demonized for so long, and it's just now coming out at how good it really is for us. I mean, we have a system in our bodies called the endocannabinoid system. Why is that there if we're not supposed to be using this plant? It's just it's a healing herb. It's not a drug, and people are finally starting to realize that, and they're getting off these opioids and everything else that's very addictive and that kills people. The cannabis hasn't killed anybody, so that's the way to go. And then mushrooms, again, that's a naturally grown or naturally occurring deal in the earth. So most natural products aren't going to hurt you.
And you have firsthand now. I mean, you suffered greatly right after your career, and you found tremendous relief as well, correct?
No doubt about it. Not only was I was having the head problems, but I was still taking painkillers probably for 5 years after I retired just to get through the day. And finally it just got to the point I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the pills, and I moved out to Arizona in 2010, got my medical card, and been using nothing but cannabis ever since. Haven't had a pain pill in 20 years, or little less than 20 years.
That's awesome. Lastly, 1 week from today, the legendary quarterback Tom Brady versus the future legend, and you shouldn't even say that because he's already legendary, and Pat Mahomes. Who wins the Super Bowl and why?
Well, I was wrong on the NFC side already. People asked me a couple weeks ago. Tampa Bay was playing against the Saints, and I guess the Saints had beaten them twice already. And I headed down to my house in Mexico. I was down there for 10 days, so I didn't see that game. I didn't see the Green Bay Tampa game. And I was very surprised when I got home and heard that Tampa was going to the Super Bowl. But I'm hoping Kansas City because Andy Reid's a good buddy of mine. Andy was my left tackle in college. I've known him since the mid '70s or late '70s, and I think he's done a hell of a job with coaching in the NFL. And I just sentimental pick would be the Chiefs, but you can't really go against Tom. I mean, hell, he's been there 10 times in 17 years, 18 years, or how many years he's even played. I can't remember.
It's unbelievable. It really is. Just this run going on with a new team. A lot of people said that it's Belichick's system, but then he brings Gronk back out of retirement and makes a run to the Super Bowl. It's an unbelievable story. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. I'm going with Kansas City. I cannot. I mean, I love Mahomes. I love everything he brings. Just the swagger, a lot like the swagger you brought. I just like him. And listen, it's going to be tough to beat Brady, but I'm going 41-34. But I've been wrong a lot. So,
Yeah, I couldn't even guess the score, but like you said, sentimental pick. I'd like the Chiefs to take that win.
Awesome. Jimmy, thanks so much for your time tonight. More importantly, thanks for so many exciting Sundays watching you play. And, of course, thanks for the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah, that thing just won't go away.
Oh, there you go. All right, Jimmy, be good and good luck, man.
All right. Thank you.
You got it. The legendary Jim McMahon. Great spot with Jim. Let that play a little bit. Have you ever seen this video, Mike? Oh, you got to watch this video. This is prototypical 80s. It's great stuff. Just the lyrics, it's a lot of fun. They were the first team pretty much to do this. It was a lot of fun, and it really played for like 2 weeks. Walter Payton, it's great stuff. All right, so we're going to give way in a moment to BT Talks Baseball, a great show from BT. I don't know where he is. I'm surprised he's not in studio by now. We had a great time speaking of, all sports, which we do every week, but keep it tuned right here because you still got another great 3 hours of broadcasting coming up. BT Talks Baseball, followed by Carpin's Corner, followed by Rich Catino's Mets Clubhouse Confidential, and then overnight a whole bunch of great vintage baseball games. So we will not be here next week. We will have a best of show. So we'll see everyone in 2 weeks. And again, for the record, I'm the only one picking Kansas City. So if Kansas City wins, I will be gloating a lot in 2 weeks. If they lose, AJ will be the host and I won't show up. So have a great week, everybody. Stay safe here in the Northeast with a big snowstorm coming, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.